now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, we do have an air quality advisory for Sanilac County today as some wildfire smoke will be impacting other portions of lower Michigan. So if today's a day that you kind of head out the door after work to go up north, just know you're going to have that filtered sunshine. That advisory will be lifting at midnight tonight, but it's the wildfire smoke leading to elevated pollutants that are unhealthy for sensitive groups, so those that suffer from asthma or any kind of upper respiratory illnesses. The rest of us not under that advisory for today, but we have our own fair share of stuff to talk about. So let's start with temperatures. Yesterday, hottest temperature we felt so far this year. However, it was tied with two other days that we have had. So June 23rd, 24th, and then yesterday, July 24th, we all topped out at 95 degrees at Metro Airport. So that is a really toasty day, not even factoring in what it felt like with that humidity. So we've clocked 8 days so far where we have hit 90 degrees. We averaged 13, so pretty much on pace with where we should be. Yesterday's rainfall really varied depending on where you were into the evening hours. And so we did have some strong to severe storms develop, but the amount of rain that left about an inch to inch and a half of some of that rainfall was mainly along the 96, 696 corridor and up towards M59, I-69. The southern communities dodged a lot of that, but that won't be the case this weekend as a lot of the activity will likely be to our south close to the state line. But the heat, that's going to stick around for a while. Even dipping into the 80s today, we're feeling like 90s with the heat index. That's because there's really no relief in sight when it comes to that humidity. We have to wait about a week. Storm chances, though, will linger today. Non-severe side tomorrow, potentially reaching severe limits. And so marginal level 1 risk for severe weather from that corridor that I just talked about, 96, 696 on south, where damaging wind gusts and some localized flooding, the primary threats, because we could get some heavy downpours. Also not going to rule out some lightning that could come with these storms. However, just note that the motion is going to be southwest to northeast, about 20 to 30 miles per hour on Saturday. The broad window is 2 p.m. to midnight, but not everyone gets some of those storms, much like yesterday. Today's forecast, we rise to about 87 for that afternoon high, so mid to upper 80s. We'll get a little lull midday before a little more activity this evening, and even that'll be isolated. So clouds went out today, and you get a couple little storms that pop, and these are really hard to pinpoint. So just because you see that north of Mount Clemens doesn't mean that's exactly where those storms kind of bubble up. In fact, better chance for them being in our southern communities, just like what we have on tap come tomorrow morning with a passing shower, but then the storm potential will be into the afternoon and evening. So bringing it back to this evening's forecast, if you're heading to Comerica Park, it's a 7:10 first pitch. Tigers take it on the Blue Jays, and there's that slight chance for some storms to develop, but otherwise it's just a warm and muggy night. We'll start in the mid 80s come first pitch, upper 70s by game's end, and just fingers crossed we don't see a rain delay. 84 comes Saturday with those storm chances that could become severe, and then cranking it up to close to 90 Sunday with just a slight chance of some development. And I'll put this into motion for you real quickly. A lot of that moisture stays in our southern communities, riding along a frontal system throughout the weekend, but Sunday you will start to see how that does retreat just a little bit, so just keeping that slight chance there. Afternoon chance Monday, but we get to 92, so we're starting off next week in the low 90s.